When we look at the inconspicuous, often bright red or yellow a pillar standing on the corner streets, then we see not just an element urban landscape, but critically important, carefully designed node that is the last and the most reliable link between colossal reserves of urban water and instant necessity put out the fire. This pole, fire hydrant, and its history, architecture, and function represent by yourself Triumph engineering thoughts dedicated to exclusively public security. Purpose. The hydrant is absolutely straightforward and uncompromising because it serves point-fast access for fire brigades to the city's high-pressure water supply pressure, providing them practically unlimited flow water in an emergency situations. Without him, firefighters, cars fast, would exhausted their limited reserves, water, and would have remained helpless in the face of the raging elements. A hydrant is, in essence, a huge, constantly charged tap, which guarantees that the fight against fire will not stop. Due to lack water, and its concept itself leaves roots-deep stories, when in the 17th century in Philadelphia, for firefighting were used ordinary wooden pipes with holes drilled in them, which shut up wooden plugs until the next incident. Modern, standardized cast iron hydrant became culmination centuries evolution, becoming fundamental element any developed urban infrastructure. However, the true engineering art hydrant lies in its architecture, which should work flawlessly in any climatic conditions. And precisely. That's why there are two fundamentally different constructive solutions. For example, in regions with warm winters, it is used a wet bore hydrant, where the valve is located directly at the top parts devices, and water under pressure constantly located inside total pillar. The design is as simple as possible and provides almost instant water supply, but it completely unsuitable for conditions where the temperature drops below zero. But here's B. Countries with cold climate applies much more complex and ingenious dry bore hydrant. In a dry bore hydrant, water is never stored in the hydrant itself, vertical pillar, which we see. Instead of this, all shut-off valves, the main valve, are located at a significant depth, below lines freezing soil. This means that pillar hydrant made from durable often cast iron, the cores is essentially empty and dry, which ensures its 100% readiness to work, even in the most fierce frosts, because the main valve is always protected by the Earth's warmth. Design. This valve is a masterpiece of mechanics. It must be hermetically sealed, and at the same time, withstand huge pressure urban highways, while remaining capable open even after long-term downtime. If we consider it as materials for the case, hydrant are selected, then this is done with the expectation that to withstand not only mechanical impacts, but also corrosion. Therefore, modern hydrants are covered special epoxy or polyurethane paints, and often have internal cement cover for additional protection against rust and wear. I suggest we move on and consider the process activation. This hidden, it requires an engineering miracle precise actions that are being committed. Fire team. Having already arrived at the scene, the firefighter calculation must at first connect the hoses to the side hydrant outlet pipes, which can have different diameters. Usually this is one big one-outlet pipe for the main trunk hose and two smaller ones used for connection, more subtle, maneuverable hoses, or for refilling the most fire machines. Then, using special fire wrench, fireman begins turn spindle, long vertical rod, which goes through the whole dry pillar. Each turn of this key slowly lowers or raises the spindle, which in turn connected to the main valve at the bottom. When the spindle lifts the valve, it opens the way for water. Under high pressure from underground urban main line, water rises in a powerful stream along the empty shaft and, thanks to the already connected hoses, is directed there, where she necessary. A use special key and gradual, controlled the opening of the valve is not accidental. It prevents effect water hammer, which maybe arise when a sudden release of water. Water hammer is destructive wave pressure, capable damage both the hydrant itself and the pipelines for hundreds meters around. Therefore, firefighters trained open hydrant smoothly and completely, so that provide uninterrupted and highly efficient flow. But the main one, and at the same time invisible element, the genius of the dry hydrant is its drainage system. How as soon as the fire was extinguished, the fireman calculation closes main valve. The water that remains in the barrel above the valve should be immediately removed. Here in the game enters drain valve. This small valve opens automatically straight away after the main valve closes hermetically. It allows all remaining water on one's own drain into a special drainage layer, gravel surrounding base hydrant, or into the ground, if soil enough permeable. Thus, the trunk again becomes dry until next use, and danger freezing fully is excluded. This self-cleaning and self-protecting mechanics is the key characteristic that does hydrant reliable element infrastructure in winter. Any malfunction of this drainage mechanism, such as clogging of the drain valve or covering it with soil, immediately transforms hydrant in the ice trap that emphasizes the importance of regular maintenance service. But for provision maximum safety, design hydrant includes special protective and vandal-proof mechanisms. One of most important is safety clutch. I want to say that this element located at the base pillar, designed so that in case hitting a hydrant transport, by means of which it broke in advance, certain place. This is it prevents massive damage underground parts, and that the main thing is that it closes hermetically. Main valve, preventing catastrophic emission, thousands liters water, and flooding streets. As a result of the accident gets damaged only above ground, part that can fast replace. At that time, how underground highway remains undamaged and in working order for the purposes of combating unauthorized using which, as already mentioned, can call pollution water supply network or critical fall pressure. Many hydrants are equipped special locks and anti-vandal lids that can be opened only firefighters who have the corresponding key. This protection ensures that the resource intended for rescue lives, there will be no wasted or spoiled. And in order to hydrant worked, how hours, he should be integrated into carefully planned infrastructure and meet strict standards. Hydrants connect to the main line's plumbing networks and should provide not just water, but water with a certain consumption and pressure sufficient for effective fire extinguishing. Also in some countries, for example, in the USA, there is a color system in coatings caps that is lids, hydrants, which instantly reports firefighters about its performance. It's basically a so instructions at a distance. For example, red or orange color maybe indicate low performance, which is less than 500 gallons per minute. Green is average, and blue is very high, more than 1,500 gallons per minute. This system, based on the standards of the National Association's Fire Safety Protection, allows the fire brigade commander instantly accept deciding how many cars can be safely connect to this point without critical falls pressure in the line. However, even with this ourselves, standards placements require that in densely populated areas, hydrants in urban areas were located no further than 90–150 meters from each other, and also were necessarily in close proximity to high-risk objects such as industrial zones and large trading centers. But I want to draw your attention to the fact that this continuous monitoring also includes regular maintenance and inspection, during which hydrants check for presence leaks, valve performance, and, most importantly, the main thing is for work pressure, the so-called flow test. During this test, firefighters open hydrant and use special device, a pitot tube, which measures speed flow water and translates it in the consumption data. This allows you to get accurate numbers, productivity, and timely reveal. Not lostly hydrant its power due to rust, clogging, or constrictions. Plumbing highways. Another mandatory procedure is seasonal flushing. When hydrants open for a short time to release stagnant water and rinse accumulated deposits that can not only worsen quality water in the system, but also to reduce past the capacity of the hydrant itself. This prevention provides not only efficiency, but also purity water in the mains, even if she is used exclusively for fire extinguishing. And finally, there are specialized hydrant systems that solve the problem of water supply in areas where no centralized water supply. In rural areas, areas where water for fire extinguishing is not available from highways, are used dry hydrants. In fact, this is not a hydrant in the classic sense, but constantly installed suction pipeline that leads from the pole straight into the natural reservoir, such like a lake, a pond, or a tank. You ask, but how does it work? It's actually very simple. A fire truck connects to it. Hydrant. But instead of receiving water under pressure, she pumps it out herself with her help. Powerful pump from reservoir. In fact, hydrants are often installed near such special tanks or reservoirs that serve reserve supply of water for fire extinguishing, which significantly increases safety remote communities. Thus, the role of the hydrant goes far beyond firefighting and permeates the economy and urban planning. The presence of an adequate network of hydrants in the area, which comply with flow and pressure standards, directly affects insurance rates for residential and commercial objects. In areas with insufficient coating or old, low-performance hydrants, insurance companies can raise rates because of the risk of lost property from fire counts above. This is also does hydrant invisible economic factor and key indicator reliability and safety urban environment. We have come to the end of our story today, so I want to say that the fireman hydrant is unrivaled sample engineering reliability. His genius architecture, especially the dry barrel and automatic system drainage, guarantees trouble-free work in any conditions, and color coding and consumption tests provide instant efficiency. He is a silent sentry, urban security, whose invisible presence and minute-by-minute readiness directly affect the economic safety and salvation lives.